Coming up on this week's show.
I'll be talking with actor Reno Wilson about his short film, Retro, which was shot all on mobile.
I'll catch up with Cassius Rayner, who's just completed a short collaborative feature with 4 other directors called The World Falls Silent.
And we'll be talking about our own upcoming personal projects and adventures in filmmaking.
And finally, we'll discuss our plans for the podcast in the coming weeks and what we hope will make you want to subscribe. All that's to come on this week's Mobile Creator Podcast.
Well, earlier this week, I had a chance to talk to my friend Reno Wilson, who is an American actor on the hit show Good Girls. We recently shot a short film as a proof of concept for a superhero feature film, and we did it all on mobile. Hey, Reno Wilson. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. You know, day by day is how I'm handling it. Moment to moment, day by day. Otherwise, I'm pretty good considering.
Good. Well, let's keep it that way. So today we are talking about mobile filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of shooting a project for you as a proof of concept for eventually be a feature film. And I wanted to talk to you and get your impressions of the mobile filmmaking experience, and from 2 different perspectives. 1, because you were a producer on this project, and 2, as an actor working with mobile. So let me first, chip away at what was this proof of concept, and why were you doing it?
Well, first of all, it was an honor to have you shooting it. Listen, we go, for all the formalities for the folks watching at home, Courtney and I, we go back 20 something years. So Courtney's a super talented filmmaker, producer, just a great director, and somebody who has a background as a key grip. We met on a film years ago called that I was doing called Diary of a Serial Killer with Gary Busey and Arnold Vosloo, and Courtney was the key grip on that project, and we've been fast friends ever since. That was the 90s, people. But Courtney and I, we've worked on several projects together. But this particular project was something that came to my attention. It was written by a friend of mine, Aaron Lindenthaler, and it's called Retro. And he created it as an animatic, actually. There wasn't he had a script, but the script was for the animatic. So it was presented to me as for those who do not know, an animatic, it looks like a cartoon. There are really no moving body parts. It's not animated. So it's just panels, almost like of a comic book or a graphic novel with dialogue and voiceover and such. But his animatic was put together so well, and it was about a kind of like a homeless superhero guy who has a thing embedded on his wrist that allows him to travel back in time for several seconds at a time, or however long he can hold this piece. And it spoke to me when I watched it. And my friend Aaron, he was like, yeah, I want to take this animatic and I want to pitch it to folks. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, we should probably do it as a live action piece, And he said, yeah, that's a great idea. He actually had written it for me. And I said, let's shoot it. And around that time, Zack Snyder and a couple of other directors started, I don't know if they posted it or I just happened to see some of their footage from them posting on their new, it's when the iPhone 11 just came out. So I'd seen what Zack Snyder had shot, and I saw what this other director had shot on the iPhone 11s, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Maybe we should shoot it on one of those phones. And of course, first person I called is Courtney to ask you what you thought of that. And he was like, it's funny that you should say that because I've got the whole package for the iPhone. Courtney is always ahead of the game when it comes to mobile filmmaking and all technology. And I was just impressed because he switched to an Apple iPhone because he was rocking with the Androids. that blew my mind. Once I saw Courtney switch to an iPhone just so he could start shooting movies, I was like, oh, this has to be the dopest thing ever. So
world made sense.
yeah. So that's how this project Retro came to pass. I connected Courtney with Aaron, and I said, listen, this is only one person that I would want to shoot this who was on top of what's going on. And Aaron and Courtney, you guys spoke, and they hit it off like gangbusters, which I knew. And Courtney had so many ideas and ways to shoot. And we, with minimal money, I mean, all we needed to do was to secure a location and have some good food and get a crew together. Flew Courtney from his island back to LA and started shooting for a couple of days. And we got it taken care of in 2 nights, all shot on the iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Yeah. So
kind of how it went down, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So as a producer, what was your take on the mobile filmmaking aspect of it? Because this was, a stretch for, I had shot a feature film on mobile before. It was on Samsung phones, but I had experience with it. But you're used to shooting with Reds and Alexas and all these other film, etc. But what was your take from a producerial standpoint?
I loved it. So many people, because I've been acting for so long, I get questions from up and coming actors. How do I get into the business? What's the first thing that I should do? And I always say, you've got this. You've got this, right? So I always say, shoot your own stuff. Even before the 11 Pro Max, shoot your own stuff. You have a film studio in your hand. You have production in your hand. So for me as a producer, I think it feels so accessible and it feels so doable from thought to production. It feels like that. So that's the advantages of mobile. And if I shot a film with my kids are 15 and 18 right now. When they were, 9 and 6, I shot a movie on whatever the iPhone was back then, and we edited it together, and it was great.
Right.
And what was really great about it was that we thought about it and we did it. Right. And that's what anybody can do. And if you, follow films, even if you didn't go to film school, you just throw the phone in a horizontal way and start shooting like a movie. So as a producer, it's cost efficient. And now with the technology and all these packages that are available for this phone, it's almost like a no-brainer. I was blown away at all the lenses that you brought down, the what are those called? What are the gimbals? All the gimbals, and it's amazing what you can put on these phones. And so yeah, as a producer, it just feels immediate. It feels efficient. It's cost efficient. And if you have an idea, it would be stupid not to shoot on your phones.
Right. Agreed. Now, so as a producer, it's one thing, but as an actor, you're used to having a particular type of lens or camera in your face, like almost literally. And so this was a little bit of a different flow, but was it?
Nothing changes for the actor. Your job as the actor is the camera doesn't exist anyway. So,
because some people say that they feel a little bit more comfortable because it's not this ginormous, monstrosity, and 12 people to run it, and all of that. Did you feel a little different, a little less encumbered by that, or did it just feel the same to you?
I understand that for sure. It's a smaller device. So if as an actor, if I'm looking in the direction of this at me, and I'm looking over, let's say I'm looking over if it's a bigger gig, if it's a bigger deal with a bigger camera, a lot of times you're not looking directly into the lens, You want to be looking just above, or if you got a phone, it's so much easier to give your looks over here and have them get all of this good stuff that's happening on here. It's a little more challenging, I would imagine, if you have a bigger camera and then you're looking at the matte box, or stuff like that. But again, for me, it doesn't really change that much. For me, my job is to be private and public anyway as an actor, and to have the camera be non-existent. For me, when the camera is bigger, it almost helps me even more be more private and in public. But no, it doesn't really change for an actor. It's all the same. Acting is acting, whether you're using a camera, a big ass camera, your phone, a DV recorder.
Right. Well, that's good. So now editing. Now I know that Aaron is going to be editing the project on Adobe Premiere, which is an industry standard. But I recently turned you on to LumaFusion just for another particular project that you were trying to do. How do you find the mobile editing experience?
Well, I haven't gotten mobile with it yet. I mean, it's on my iPad, and I'm a novice at that. But you blew my mind when you edited, 3 minutes of a scene on your phone like it was nothing. I want to smack you for that. But it's amazing. It's amazing. I can't even imagine. So maybe I did 15, 20 years ago, being able to just have everything. I mean, you literally, we just finished shooting a project, got in the car. By the time I got to my house, you had, 3 minutes edited on your phone with music.
Right. Yeah. Where else can you do that? And as I talk about all the time on this, channel and others, the technology is only going to get better and fit. And more mobile for you. So
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, that's good. So it was a good experience. Do you think that you would attempt to do a feature film on mobile?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, why not? And not only did you shoot it that night, edit it on your phone in the car with music, it looked great. You put filters over it. I don't think you hadn't had it color corrected, but
yeah,
as an independent filmmaker, we could turn it into a series. We could turn it into a feature. We could turn it into, you can do whatever you want. Your flexibility is unparalleled. So if you're into the mobile film, it's your world right now. It's your world.
Yeah. So maybe it's just not mobile filmmaking. It's just filmmaking. Because it's so good. It's on par with, some of the other technology out there. All right. Well, I know you got to go. I know you're busy.
I do.
I really appreciate you and your time.
My pleasure.
Your insight, into this, and hopefully we can get you back on when we do another project, on mobile. And
yes. Well,
let us know how you felt about editing on your iPad or.
I will. I'll be calling you for tips for sure.
Good deal. All right, Reno Wilson, get out of here. I appreciate you. And
see you soon. Love you.
I love you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Now, one of the key motivations for the Mobile Creator Summit was to try to respond to the unprecedented challenges being faced by the creative community globally as a result of COVID-19. In the very first show of the series, we spoke to Cassius Rayner about his short film, The Invisible Monster. Well, since then, Cassius has collaborated with 4 other filmmakers to create a new short film entitled The World Falls Silent. The film explores 5 cities around the world during COVID quarantine lockdown. Hey, Cass, thanks so much for giving up your time to have a chat with us on the Mobile Creator Podcast today. Really, really appreciate it. So way back in week 1 of the summit, we had a conversation with you and some other filmmakers about a bit of your career path, how you got into mobile filmmaking. And at that stage, we talked about your project, The Invisible Monster, which explored COVID-19 and the quarantine in London. Now, since then, this project that you've been working on really seems to have taken on wings and kind of spread globally, which I think is amazing. Do you want to talk me through a little bit about that collaborative process?
Yeah, so basically, the idea came about, in fact, on the exact day that we went into lockdown, on March the 23rd. I was actually in central London filming on the streets because I was doing my own little group of videos called London Falls Silent. So as that was all happening, and the idea came to me that I thought, wow, this is unprecedented times that we're in. This is an incredible, a depressing crisis that we're in globally, but wonder if there's a way of connecting with filmmakers around the world to document what's happening in their parts of the world, because we were being saturated with mainstream news and mobile video clips that were sort of all over the place, and you kind of not really getting a sense or a feeling or an idea of what was happening in specific cities around the world. And I just thought, it was just an idea, and I just thought, well, there's an opportunity here for professional filmmakers around the world who are like me. We're all part of this problem that we've gone into lockdown. We have our mobile phones. We all use the Filmic Pro app. So is there a way that we can document what we're seeing on the streets? And when I say this word, don't take it the wrong way, but I wanted to see the beauty as well as the sadness in what we were actually seeing out in the streets. So I didn't want it to be really heavy-handed and, oh no, it's all bad and terrible. I just wanted filmmakers as artists to convey what they saw on the streets and maybe look at the visual artistry of that as well, if that makes sense. So that's where the idea came from. And from that point, I then started to reach out to different filmmakers. Obviously, I reached to two in particular that I really liked, and I liked their work, which was Rob Layton and Sally Ann Messamini, based over in America. But interestingly, she was actually stuck in Canada. So I thought, perfect. So she was in Toronto at that point in lockdown, and she couldn't get back to the States. So it was a great opportunity, and she was really up for it. She just thought it was fantastic, and she wanted to be a part of it. So she went out on the streets of Toronto and started filming what she saw. And the same with Rob. Rob was one of the first to come on board, and back down on the Golden Coast, I think they call it. And yeah, again, he came on board really early and was very keen to get involved, and he went out and shot some fantastic stuff. And then slowly other filmmakers came on board, but I kept it quiet. So there were a lot of people actually asking me, hey, Cass, your London Falls Silent series of videos you've already done, wouldn't it be great if there was a global sort of reach out? Well, I was already doing it. And in fact, I think you even asked me that question, Jim.
I did. I remember asking, actually.
And I kind of just nodded. So I was already doing it. I was already talking to filmmakers. And there were lots of high points and lots of low points over the weeks, because we had filmmakers that came on board and then for various reasons pulled out at the last minute. It got very complicated. It wasn't easy for certain filmmakers. There was a lovely filmmaker I wanted to work with in Nigeria, Donald, but he fell sick. And so he was out. And of course, the shutdown there was intense. It was like literally you do not open your front door. So a lot of filmmakers wanted to get involved, but were restricted because lockdown was very different for different countries in the way it was being interpreted. And of course, it was a fine line for me, because as a filmmaker, I didn't want people to disrespect local law and what policies were in place. And I didn't want to put anyone at risk. And so it took a long time because we had to wait for the right windows to open so that it was safe enough for filmmakers to go out, to not obviously give risk to others, but also when things were maybe a little bit more relaxed to a certain degree. So films came in at different times. And then thankfully at the very last minute, a guy called Jay Silver in New York, who interestingly is actually a what I would call a traditional cinematographer who works in the feature film industry. And he'd never used Filmic Pro before. So we got him the app, and he wanted to explore it. And so his film of documenting New York was a first time for him, as far as I know. And so that was great. It was really interesting to have that, a professional filmmaker from a different tradition who came in and used Filmic Pro to shoot his content. So that was really cool. And I think he really enjoyed the experience and loved being involved. And then we have Teo, who is actually Nigerian, but he's based in China. He's at a university in China, and I only knew him as Diplu on Twitter. But Teo was great and really engaged and wanted to get involved. And I thought his material was very fresh, interesting, and so I really wanted him to have a chance at it. And it took a while. He had various issues with the internet in China and getting things ready. But he eventually got there. There were terrible weather storm issues they had there. And then eventually he was able to go out and shoot, and he put his story together. And then that sort of brought together the 5 films. I mean, ideally I would have liked more, but I felt we'd got to a point over many weeks that we were just lucky to have got 5 fantastic films, put together. And I just, to be honest, they're just out there. I just put them out there and launched it on my website because I just want everybody to see films. I know we're all sick of COVID-19. We're all exhausted with it. But I hope the films show a different aspect to it that is not wholly negative, but in fact just quite fascinating. Of these silent streets across the world, something we've never experienced in our lives, and I hope we never have to experience it again. So I think for historical reasons, to document that and to be able to use mobile phones to show that we can shoot fantastic quality, with mobile phones, that it's there, was just a great way of putting it together.
If people want to learn more about the project and the background to it, you've said that you've listed the actual piece itself on your website. Have you done a bit of kind of a deep dive into each filmmaker's kit, how they approached it, any of that sort of stuff as a behind the scenes? Or
so it's early days because we only launched it a few days ago. So I am compiling material. I have asked all the filmmakers to write about their experience during the process. So there will be some bios available of each filmmaker, but more interestingly, I wanted to know how were you feeling during the process? What experience was did it give you, and how did you approach it? So all that will actually be put together. I hope within the next week or so we'll have that material available. So we just haven't decided how to present the behind the scenes, should I say, the material that the filmmakers have brilliantly written about the experience. We haven't decided, or I haven't decided, if that's going to be available on the website, because I'm actually quite excited and keen to look at possibly doing a live stream with the 5 filmmakers. So I just think it would be a really nice thing to do, and to actually get the filmmakers on the live stream to actually talk it through as to what they experienced at that point. How did they approach it? How were they working with Filmic Pro? How did they find it? So all of that could be really interesting in a live stream. So it's just weighing up whether it's going to be written material on the website or whether we're going to go down the live stream sort of route. So it's early days.
Phenomenal. And I mean, casting forward, we don't know how long COVID is going to continue to disrupt daily lives. Obviously, globally, there seems to be a slow easing of restrictions. Certainly the quarantine are being lifted in some countries. Whether that's a good or a bad thing remains to be seen, I guess. But, it is what it is. Do you see a project that would be like effectively quarantine, post-quarantine, that kind of documents people's reaction? Will there be a change? Will it look just as it did before all this kicked off? Do you see a part 2 perhaps at some stage in the future?
Oh, that's a really good question. At this stage, there are different things I have to weigh up as a filmmaker, and that's obviously my own personal work and how I'm surviving and how I'm going to look after my family during this time, because it's been really hard. And also, my passion to want to continue this. I am documenting the behaviour that we're experiencing, particularly in London at the moment, because I have a feeling or a sense that things may go wrong. I hope they don't. But if they do, I want to be able to document that process of how lockdown was eased. We've gone into this sort of false, it's all great and COVID's packed its bags and gone off on an aeroplane. Well, I'm just not sure. So it's organic at the moment for me. I'm just filming what I see. As far as a group project with other filmmakers, I would love to do that again. I think there is scope for a second part of it. It's just the logistics of it and whether I can actually manage that again on my own, or whether I need to be looking at, another group of people to help me with that. I don't know. I'm also quite tempted. I haven't put it out there, but I am actually really tempted because I've had an interesting response. And there's a lot of filmmakers on Twitter who've gone, well, I want to be number 6 filmmaker and I want to be number 7 filmmaker. And I thought, okay, well, maybe as COVID does relax a little bit and it's a bit easier for filmmakers, maybe it'd be quite interesting just to put it out there and just let filmmakers do their own thing and just send it in. And it'd just be interesting to maybe compile an entire collage of what's going on around the world.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of it. Is it the 24-hour project? It was spoken about at MojoFest a couple of years back, which was basically a single day. It's a date that's taken, and then photographers all the world effectively collaborate under a single theme for that 24 hours. It'd be quite interesting to explore something similar as the restrictions are eased globally for, effectively to have an army of mobile filmmakers around the world on a single day documenting what life is like basically in their environment. I mean, but again, I completely hear what you're saying, that this is potentially a huge undertaken, and you still have to keep the bread and butter money coming in the door. On that, not to change tack completely, but you recently launched a series of new online tutorials and live streams. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm just doing that because because I get inundated with emails and questions, and I think it's really important to respond. But it's getting to the point that I just couldn't respond to all of them. I work on my own, and so it's not as if I have a team of people that can be polite and respond and say, "Hey, here's the answer to your question about such and such a gimbal." So I just thought, you know what? While I'm not officially working, then why don't I just talk, things through and pick up on things that people have been asking quite a lot about. So. That's the only reason I'm really doing it. Is it what I'm going to be in the future? No, tutorial videos is not what drives me. I'm a professional filmmaker, and so what drives me is how do we shoot great film, using mobile phones, whether it's in documentaries, music videos, or drama. And drama is something I'm now looking into and have been exploring myself. So I hope that I will continue to not necessarily do tutorial videos, but I will do little video, I guess like a vlog, but I'll talk about specific projects I'm shooting or how they're being done, because I think that seems to be where a lot of the interest is in my work is, well, how did you actually get that shot, Cass? And I don't mind talking about those things. That's cool. I enjoy that. And if others get something from that and they, something useful for them, or they find it inspiring, great. That's I'm really flattered by that. Really flattered that people would be inspired anyway. So I'm just doing a mix of things, really. I am actually about to work on a film which I can't talk about because there are actually a couple of very well-known movie actors that are going to be in it. But again, we're doing this on a no budget, but it's been an amazing experience because they've asked me to come in, and I thought they just wanted me to be the iPhone cinematographer because they're keen to shoot it on a phone. I was like, yeah, great. And they said, oh no, but actually, can you direct it? I was like, oh, okay. So
that's a slightly different ask, all right?
Yeah. So we're sort of processing the development of it at the moment. We hope to start shooting in a couple of weeks' time on that.
Very good, great. Well, I've alluded on Twitter once or twice that I have a little project that I'm trying to kick the tires on as well. And actually, this podcast over the next few weeks and hopefully next few months is going to kind of document the process of trying to get that off the ground as well. Because Courtney, who's my co-host, basically has got multiple mobile and non-mobile features actually under his belt, and I'm hoping that he's effectively going to kick me in the insert expletive if he feels I'm slacking and not pulling my weight on this. But it's a project I've been sitting on for a year, and I will circle back. I promise. I know you're up to your eyeballs right now with so many balls in the air and so on and so forth, but I will circle back in due course for a chat with you, because it is set in London. And as I have said publicly, and I'll say it to your face now, well, virtually anyway, I could think of no better man to basically be the DP on this one for me if you had time and capacity and if I could afford you. But we'll talk about that in due course. I'll just leave that hanging for now, right?
No, we don't need to, I mean, to be honest, for me, during COVID-19, I've been lucky to be involved in quite a lot of projects. And of course, no one's getting paid. I would love to be paid, but you know what? I'd rather just stay creative and be involved with projects that I feel are important, that have purpose, and will actually entertain. So you just got to keep filming and keep doing things. I could quite easily sit here and go, oh my God, where's the next big paycheck coming from? I haven't got time to worry about that. I'm more worried about making sure that mobile filmmaking gets to the next level. So.
Fantastic. That's a great place to leave this conversation. Listen, where can people find out more information? Tell us about the website. Where are the resources?
Yeah, okay. So if you want to check out the films actually that we've been talking about, they're at www.gofilmit.tv/The World Falls Silent. Also, if you want some tips or tricks about mobile filmmaking, or I've written a piece about some, budget gear. So, keeping your costs really low, but you want to have a look at, handheld rigs, etc. Check out mobilefilmmaking.com.
Fantastic. Listen, as always, a genuine pleasure to chat to you, and best of luck with the project. I'm really looking forward to see how the global response to it actually starts to amplify, as it already has really blown up. So best of luck with the project, and thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Glenn. Much appreciated, mate. Anytime.
So, Courtney, what have you been up to this week?
Well, this week I have been in preparation for a feature film that is going to be shot fully on mobile, an end-to-end mobile workflow.
Including the edit?
Including the edit. The only thing I'm not going to be able to do is the visual effects. That's literally the only thing that I'm not going to be able to do. But everything else, from scripting to shooting to the edit to collaborating with my composer down in Los Angeles, to hopefully the final export, depending on the necessity of the deliverables. But everything is going to be done in a phone and an iPad.
Okay, give me a little bit of the background story. So, 1, when did you decide you were going to do it all mobile? 2, how long have you been planning or writing or scripting or pre-production on this?
So I will preface this by saying that this is not my first feature that I've done on a mobile device. Several years ago, 5 years ago, in fact, I did a micro-budget feature film, horror film, where you run around the woods and kill a bunch of millennials, and that's what I did, because that's what you do on a micro-budget movie. So that got me thinking. The subsequent movies that I've done and television shows, I've done all on professional cameras, But I thought, you know what? I really want to get back to mobile. With the advent of LumaFusion, the incredible editing software, it really got me thinking that I could do a full mobile workflow. And I thought, okay, it's time to do it. So I reached out to my distributor for my previous movies, and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And he said, great, let's make that happen, and let's get it out in the world. And so again, I reached out to LumaFusion, and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And same with Filmic, and they were just like, yay, we're on board, and we're going to be the wind in your sails. So that's how I got going.
And how far away from principal photography do you think you are at this stage?
Well, that's kind of up to COVID-19.
Yeah, small little blip in the plan.
But the script is fairly close to being done, actually, and I'm doing this script in a similar way to the way I did my previous mobile made feature, where I'm writing what's called a scriptment. So I will do, it's more than a treatment and almost a script. So basically, it's all the scenes written out without all of the dialogue. So because I'm able to work with such great actors and I love improvising the dialogue, I am going to do the same thing with them. So I give them the breakdown and maybe a little starter dialogue, but 99% of the dialogue is going to be
improv or them basically creating the characters.
Well, what I tend to do is work with them ahead of time, and say, okay, let's find the characters, and so we just do a little bit of improvisation, just to kind of, to flesh out what the characters' motivations are, and then we just kind of refine over a couple of days, and then when it comes time to shoot, they're in character. And so I figure that just about anything that comes out of their mouths is right because they're living in that character. Plus, I try to cast as close to the characters as I can, just so it's not too far of a stretch for some of the more novice actors that I'll get. But yeah. So that's what I like to do. It's a very collaborative situation.
Yeah, it sounds really, really cool, but really organic as well. So can I ask you a question in relation to your target production time? Like, how long are you planning to shoot for when you finally do get the green light to go?
Well, I'm kind of going off of what I did with the previous movie, and that I did in 7.5 days. Believe it or not. So I tend to shoot really fast, and I tend to shoot with multiple cameras. So so I think my production time for this one is going to be about 4 to 7 days. But I won't know that until I finish the script. I start to budget. I figure out all the pieces that I need, and if I can shoehorn it into 4 days, I'm going to do it.
And I mean, so typically on a production of this scale, how many people are on the crew? Like, what are the logistics in relation to that? And what are you expecting to have to budget for? Crew? The hell's a crew?
Yeah, what the hell's a crew? I've heard of this before. So typically on a project like this, it's the fewest people possible. And I think with COVID, the whole world of COVID, I think that's even smarter, now. You don't really need a lot if you write it in a smart way. So I'm writing it to be as few locations as possible. As a matter of fact, the house that I'm going to shoot has a horse arena and 2 houses on the property. And I'm writing it to take place, 99% there, except for one driving scene or 1 or 2 driving scenes in the car. So I'm writing it really smartly to be done in minimal locations, which means minimal crew, minimal lighting, because I'm going to be shooting on the new iPhone, which is great. It's a sensitive enough camera for me to do what I need to do. Plus, I'm going to light the house, the inside of the house, using practicals, so it's going to look nice. But I'm going to, use specific lighting, and then I'll just augment with a Chinese lantern. That's going to be hanging on a C stand, and so I'm already kind of. When I'm writing these scenes, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do a scene in a hallway. What am I going to need? Like, how many lights am I going to need in the hallway? Or the lights that are coming in from the doors, from the different rooms in the hallway. And because it's a horror movie, I can get away with not over lighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dark is almost the power, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. But the other thing is that with how sensitive but not sensitive these mobile devices are, I do have to light, but I can't underlight either. That's the trick. right? Because it'll be too grainy. Even with using Filmic Pro, because I use Filmic Pro and I'm going to be shooting in the log format, it's still. It's not their fault. It's the camera. It's literally the limitations of the sensor, because the sensor is so small, as you can imagine.
Sure.
So I think if I do my job right, having pools of light and then a Chinese lantern to kind of bring up the, just kind of the ambient value a little bit, enough to get me out of the danger zone of all the graininess, I think we'll be all right.
Wow, I'm intrigued. Okay, so the plan with the podcast is that we're going to run this on a weekly basis for, we'll give it a trial for a couple of months, see how it goes. But I'm really interested that we revisit the kind of process that you're going through on a weekly basis to kind of get updates and hear about the challenges, because I think people listening in will probably learn a lot from the obstacles and how you overcome them, as well as the solutions that you come up with to kind of get to the end game.
Right. And I think that's part of my goal as well with this is, I don't have to do another feature on mobile, but I'm really, really interested in helping push the technology as far as it can go. I mean, we've seen what, Steven Soderbergh has done, and we've seen what Sean Baker has done with their features, and they're fantastic. But the thing that we haven't seen is anybody finish on mobile. It's like, because so many projects, commercials and music videos, etc., have been done on a mobile device, but I can't point to one that has been fully edited on that. So it's partly that, and then also it's right now, a big thing that has come up for me during this whole COVID experience is not using the limitations of the things that I don't have as an excuse to not get anything done. So I've said to somebody that, I'm using this experience as an excuse to have no more excuses.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
So if I can prove the workflow, if I can, because we all know that we can shoot on mobile, but can we edit and get a full feature-length movie out from mobile? If I can prove that, then people will have no more excuses.
I love that idea. I mean, I think I mentioned to you when we were kicking the tires and the idea of doing this podcast after the summit, that I've actually, no one knows this, they're reading for the first time, but I wrote a full feature-length script about 10 years ago. I'll give you a bit of the backstory to it, but in the last 12 months, also read an article that kind of provoked me to write a short story, because I guess I've been in TV, but newsland specifically, for 20 years, right? So everyone that knows me and knows me in relation to mobile has this close association with me as a trainer just for news. But my background was I was an art student, I painted stuff way back when. We're going back a lifetime ago. But my very, very first job in TV, I was asked, what would you like to do, within TV? And my answer was, I'd like to be a camera person. It never happened. I ended up being an engineer, and that whole path took me off in one direction. But I would love, and I have to be honest, like your interview during the summit, and two other interviews. Richard Lackey, one of them. Sal Massimini, to a certain extent.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, Richard is doing amazing stuff and has really, I suppose, in many ways, kind of egged me on and given me the confidence to give a go at this. So, having spoken to you during the summit, and just the overall vibe of what people had done, which left me somewhat in awe, I kind of decided to dust off that script. And so what I'm going to try and weave into the podcast as well over the next few weeks, although it could be an unmitigated disaster, but you know what? That's all part of the experience too, I guess.
That's all the learning, yeah.
But I'm gonna try and follow in your footsteps and lean on your shoulders and all that good stuff to see if I can take this concept through to fruition on exactly the same basis as you were doing it. Now, I don't want this to be a kind of I'm trying to outdo you thing at all, because I'm literally in awe of what you've done already. And if people haven't seen any of your stuff, they should really go to your YouTube channel and have a look to see exactly what I mean by that. But at the same time, I want people listening to this podcast to be able to sort of sit back and maybe think to themselves, well, hell yeah, I mean, I know a good story, but I've never thought about how the hell I could make that happen on a shoestring effectively. So, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of thinking I'm fired up by this as well, and I'd like to give it a go and see what happens along the way too.
I'm just happy to be, on this journey, and I'm happy that you're going on the journey too. I'm going to be looking at it, because I've been where you're starting from, and I love it. It's a great and daunting thing.
Yeah, do you know what I really like about this is like for, I guess, pushing on 8 years, I've been pushing people outside their comfort zones to do stuff. And I, as the trainer, I get to say, no, you got to do it this way. And I get to be critical. And on a course recently, someone basically turned it back on me and sort of said, you show all these great examples of other people's work. How come we don't see any of your work? And it literally was like a drop kick. I honestly, it was like full on stomach just did a pivot. And I was like, whoa, okay, wow, that didn't even see that one coming. Yeah. And I have shot a little bit. That's the thing. I've had stuff on TV, but it's like I never show it because I'm never, so proud of it that I wanted to be the centerpiece. I'm privileged to see work of other people I think is far better than mine and be able to say, well, this is what we should be aspiring to. But to a certain extent, they say there are those who do and those who don't train. And there's a certain element in me trying to push back against that a little bit and say, to hell with this stuff now.
Yeah,
I basically want to see if I can do it. And again, like I said, I've been really quite psyched up since the summit to really give this a go. So I'm trying to set myself a goal. Yeah. Admittedly, like you, I'm conscious that COVID could run a coach and four through all the kind of planning. But right now, my idea is a 4-day shoot, not too similar to and I'm going for a far less ambitious project than you are, in fairness. So you'd probably manage to do what I'm trying to do in a day if you put your mind to it, but we'll see how we do. It is location based, but I want to try and do it in London because, that's kind of where in my head I see the scene. I mean, Dublin could work too if I really need to pare it back. Right. And it's going to be very limited on talent. It's basically maximum 3 bodies effectively. And yeah, I want to try and do a minimal crew, but I'd love to try and get a few other collaborators on it as well. But it's all up in the air right now. It's all kind of, I have the idea, I'm still working on the script, and I'm interested from the scripting point of view, and from a storyboarding point of view. Did you study scripting, or how do you perfect that, or what did you call it again? Halfway between a screen.
Well, a scriptment.
A script. Love that.
Yeah. No, I didn't study. I mean, I read a lot of scripts. I've YouTube. I've read some really great scripts by some really great writers, and so you learn a lot from that. But I've worked in film and television for 20 years, so I've more years than I can remember now. So I've worked on some great projects, that and which, funny enough, I worked on several feature films that I thought, okay, yeah, I know how that works because I was a technician. I was a key grip, so it's like one of the guys in the lighting and rigging department was the head of a lighting and rigging department. And so, I was always next to the camera, so I always knew what that was. And then with Reno, my best friend Reno, he was always on a sitcom or TV show, and I would always, be on set. And a couple of his shows that he's been on, he's been with some of the best directors in television, Jim Burrows and many others. And I've shadowed directors on both, hour-long and half-hour series. And you think because you've worked in the business for so long and you've worked right along. I mean, I've been the key grip for Ed Lockman, who shot Aaron Brockovich, and I've done all these, with all these incredible people, and you think that you feel like you can emulate what they've done until you start doing it, and then you start doing it and you go, oh my God, I don't know any of this stuff. Not really. I mean, it kind of goes out of the window, when it's all on you and all eyes are on you. Fortunately, that first feature, it was with all my friends, so we were all learning and moving together, even though we'd all been in the business for several years. But that was really important, is I did it in a comfortable and safe environment, even though I was working with people like Ted Danson and Henry Winkler and people that I didn't previously know, and had watched on TV for, since I was a child, but it's surround yourself. I think maybe the first piece of advice I will give you, see, it starts now.
Good.
piece of advice that I'm going to give you is surround yourself by people that you trust and you think can do a great job at whatever particular thing you're trying to hire them to do. Do that, and like it's 70% of your job is done.
It's always a pleasure to chat to you, Courtney. Always a pleasure to chat to you. And like when we chatted on the summit, I kind of had that instant click with you and just thought, here's a guy, I really love the stuff that he's doing. And I'm delighted that we're having a shot at this. So thanks
for including me in this. This is spectacular. When I told people that I was, that we were going to be doing this, they were just like, really? Oh, that sounds great. I'll tune in for that. So, I think I think we're going to have the ear of a few people. So
that's good.
I think we'll provide value.
Yeah, I think we're doing it as a very kind of honest and sincere expose, if you will, of the process. And for me, certainly that's a huge part of the motivation, kind of put myself out of my comfort zone and hopefully bringing people on the journey with me as well. So yeah, it's going to be good fun. And I'm looking forward to you kicking my I nearly said the bold word. I did that on a podcast before and I got blacklisted by Apple. The algorithm works. So yeah.
No.
So I didn't do it. But there you go. We can always beep, can't we? We can beep.
Anyway. We'll fix it in post.
Okay. Well, look, on that bombshell, to steal a phrase, we'll call it quits for this week, but I'll catch up with you again next Friday. Pleasure chatting to you as always.
Pleasure.